batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Ready to move out.
Before we start, I'd like to say something. There's no reason why you shouldn't have complete confidence in your chances to come out of this thing alive and in one piece.
From coast to coast, from border to border, from one end to the other and all points in between, the Classic Guitar Rock Podcast is on.
Yes! That's awesome!
We crank up and break down the great guitar-driven rock of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And you are invited to come along.
We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes, it's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
And now, your host, Jeremy Lunnan.
Yeah, we don't know anything about that fella there. Who is he? Where's he coming from?
It's time for the Classic Guitar Rock Podcast.
Welcome to the Classic Guitar Rock Podcast. And man, Jeff, so glad to have you back with us today. How are you, my friend?
I'm hanging in there now, doing okay. Thank you. It's great to be back.
The first question is, where in the world has Jeff been? So tell us a bit about the last month. You've traveled the world. You've had gigs. You've done all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, we got an album signed. We're big in Korea, so we had a tour set up. T-shirts and merch.
Great.
Classic Rock Guitar Podcast on the back.
Nice. Good.
My two boys, my 5 and 8-year-old, and my wife went to Costa Rica. They went for 5 weeks. I went for 3. And we were on the west side, on the Nicoya Peninsula, a little town called Samara.
Nice.
If anybody's listening and you want to go somewhere, totally chill, small, mellow, great small waves for learning how to surf. Awesome place. So we did that. And we zip-lined in the jungle.
Sweet.
ATV toured through the jungle. And my 5-year-old stood up on a surfboard and was surfing waves.
Very nice.
It was cool. And the 8-year-old too. It was cool. It was great.
That's cool. And then you mentioned you had 2 gigs in South Dakota.
Yeah.
So let's hear about that.
My buddy Derek, who's the other guitar player in the band, he's from Lead, South Dakota, which has a really interesting history with mining. And they had some sort of town
festival celebration.
Celebration thing.
Cool.
So he set it up where we played this beautiful opera house that sadly had a fire in 1984, but has been around since the late 1800s.
Wow.
And so that was the biggest place I've ever played. And because it was this festival thing, people kind of rotated in and out. So it wasn't like we had 1,000 people sitting down. But, it was fun to mic the whole band because often we play bars, we don't mic the drums.
Exactly.
So we got a new mixer, new PA speakers. So we were able to mic everybody, everything, and, play around. And that was fun for me. And then we played a bar the next night. We played a really tiny little. 2 different
places in that same town. That's awesome.
Yeah, back to back.
So
yeah, it was fun.
What I've found, some of the best gigs we've ever done are in small towns, right? Where it's just like you're talking about. It's a festival. It's a celebration. We've done some where they'd have us come in. They'd put us up in a hotel. That's all part of the deal. Then we play. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
And you'll get a lot of people that are coming in from other towns for these festivals. And those are just a lot of fun. We've played, I think maybe twice also since we were last together on the podcast.
Oh, cool.
Out at I mentioned this, it's a place called the Colbert Trading Company. It's a pizza place and it's out north of town. And this guy has live music every weekend. And so we've played there a couple times and just a lot of fun. Live music is back. We see it more and more everywhere, which is a good thing. I think there's a lot of pent up desire for live music. So for people like us that play, it's a good thing. I think it'll be a busy summer.
Did it feel good for you to get out there?
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
it was good. Well, nice. We are talking. Let's kind of reset things because Jeff sprung this on us. Gosh, it's been about a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago. We're the Classic Guitar Rock Podcast, and people always ask, what is classic guitar rock versus classic rock? because I differentiate, right? Because there's music I call classic guitar rock that isn't really maybe classic rock. And that would include a lot of your hair metal. The classic rock people might say, oh, I don't call those guys classic rock. Well, to me, it's just good guitar music, right? From the 60s, 70s, 80s. That's what I mean when I say classic guitar rock.
With a bonus of, good songwriting.
Exactly. Good songwriting, great guitar tones, that sort of thing. So Jeff suggested that we listen to Blackberry Smoke. Now, Blackberry Smoke's only been around since like 2000, right? And the particular album we're listening to is from 2016. But if you're a fan, I'm getting ahead of myself here. If you're a fan of good Southern rock, of great guitar tones, of great songwriting, remember one of the commitments we made to you, the home viewer, was if we come across newer music that old curmudgeon-y classic rock folks would like, we're going to share it with you. And Blackberry Smoke is definitely one of those bands. And again, I get ahead of myself. Before we do that, just a couple news items I want to share. Some of these things Jeff hasn't even heard yet. So first, a few sad news items. Two former members of Cinderella have passed away in the last week. One is guitarist Jeff LaBar. He died at the age of 58. And then also the keyboard player who had been playing with Kiss. He's played with Cyndi Lauper, Ian Hunter. Of course, he was in Cinderella. Gary Corbett also just passed away this week. So, man, a bad week for Cinderella. I was just saying this earlier, Jeff, when you look at the hair metal bands, pile in all those hair metal bands of the 80s, and Cinderella was one of those. But I think Cinderella was kind of at the top. They were kind of in the upper echelon in terms of talent, in my mind. Tom Kiefer, you mentioned, still making music, has an album in the last few years that has come out. And I really like Cinderella. They had a lot of great songs and they
had some great tones.
Yeah.
So when you say that, do you mean like songwriting or do you mean?
I mean songwriting. I mean
riffs,
the guitar
vocals,
sounds. Okay. Tom Kiefer had a much more organic sound, for instance, than like if you listen to a Poison record, which is like processed cheese, right? And I don't mean that I guess I do kind of mean it in a negative way, right? You think about 80s guitar playing, and there was some great stuff in there. There was also some cheesy stuff in there. I thought Cinderella was one of the better of those bands that were thrown into the hair metal genre. So a rough week for them.
Another band that maybe we'll cover that I think was way up there during that time frame was Tesla.
Tesla was phenomenal.
Those guitar players were out of control.
I agree, 100%. Yeah. And very, I use the word organic already, but just a good guitar sound. I agree. They're great. And I think they still play. They're still out. I don't know if they're putting out records, but they still go out and play, and they're really good. So Mechanical Resonance, is that the big album?
Yeah.
That's one we should do. Totally. Okay. So we're going to add that to the list. Mechanical Resonance. Okay. Now, Jeff, I can't say anything official yet. We are on the verge. We are on the cusp of having some really cool companies to work with. So I'm not going to make any official announcements this week, but I think by next episode, I'll have some good news, which means we'll have some cool stuff to give away.
More than one.
More than one.
Companies.
Yes, I mentioned one to you, Jeff, that I said to keep under wraps. There's another one that actually might even happen sooner. So I will. I'm going to keep that. There's a little teaser for everyone. So we'll have some goodies that we might be able to share with our listeners.
You've been working hard.
I've been working hard, man. Yeah, I've been working hard. So as always, you can email us at classicguitarrock.com. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. Please go out, like, subscribe, share. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends. All those things are very important. Now, when we come back, we're going to jump into this great album from Blackberry Smoke from 2016. It's called Like an Arrow. And we're going to break that down when we come back.
Exclusive exclusively on ESPN Plus. UFC 313, Saturday. Reigning light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira defends his title against #1 contender Magomed Ankalaev, and an explosive lightweight bout between Justin Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev. UFC 313, Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Buy it on ESPNplus.com/PPV.
Welcome back to the Classic Guitar Rock podcast. Jeff is back with us today. Welcome back, Jeff.
Thank you much.
As promised, we're finally going to talk about Blackberry Smoke. Now, I want to just say some things right out of the gate. We'll go through song by song, but I've been trying to think about how to explain this. You know what? It's kind of like what I just said about hair metal. I'm a huge Southern rock fan. And I'll tell you right now, one of my favorite Southern rock bands is Molly Hatchet. Love Molly Hatchet. I wouldn't say I'm a huge Skynyrd fan, but I like Skynyrd. I appreciate Skynyrd. I love Blackfoot. Okay, so I love those rockin' Southern rock bands. But then there were bands like the Allman Brothers that, to me, yes, you could call them Southern rock, but they were kind of in a different league, right? When I hear the Allman Brothers compared to Skynyrd, I think the Allman Brothers have a little more depth. I think their musical knowledge is a little broader, maybe. I mean, you hear some elements in Allman Brothers that you wouldn't necessarily hear from a Skynyrd or even a Molly Hatchet, who I love.
They would add in their little jazzy bits.
Jazzy elements, yeah.
And they would slow it down and do a little bit different, more of a bluesy thing.
Yes.
Like their version of Stormy Monday
yes.
live is just one of the greatest renditions and some of the best guitar work. Just, it's one of the most amazing solos. If any players are out there and you want to learn some slow blues, that's live. Stormy Monday, the first solo is just amazing.
And you know, Duane Allman, who was phenomenal, right? Duane Allman always gets the press, and we talk about Duane. He died in 1971. But Dickie Betts is just incredible. And the reason I'm bringing this up is Blackberry Smoke, there's obviously an Allman Brothers influence there. You know, there's a few songs where you hear that interplay where you'll hear kind of a riffy, raunchy lead guitar, but then underneath you hear there's some interplay with the two guitars that's you got to listen for it. There's a little more breadth and depth to Blackberry Smoke than just saying they're a Southern rock band. And I think my windows are open, so you might be hearing a lot of background noise, but that's just ambience for the show. You know, that's just a little more realism for the show.
We call it room tone.
Room tone. Jeff's got guys working in his house, so if you hear him talking to guys in the house, hey, that's who we are. That's how we roll, right?
Hey, get out of my fridge.
The fridge. You're not supposed to be in the fridge. But I think Blackberry Smoke is it's doing them an injustice to just say they're a Southern rock band, because I think there's a lot going on. I hear a lot. And some of these songs, Jeff, they're straight country songs, right?
For sure.
And I think this will make my modern country fan friends mad when I say this. I think Blackberry Smoke has a much more legitimate connection to Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard and Hank Williams than any of the modern country guys. Modern country music, it's much of it it's garbage. Yeah. And you listen to modern country and they like have rap in it. They have auto-tune crap going on. It's like, what the heck has happened? Where these guys are rootsy, they're legit. Right. I really enjoyed listening to this album, and the more I listen to it, the more I enjoy it. So that's my opening statement on the group Blackberry Smoke.
Yeah. To me, they also have a Black Crowes thing happening.
Totally.
And the country sort of slower kind of songs that you're talking about, at first you might think, oh, well, it's not classic rock, or it's totally different than the first song and the other song. But in a way, it makes for a nice contrast.
Yeah.
So you're listening to this, like an arrow, like that song is heavy. If you compare it to Sunrise in Texas.
For sure.
Totally different. Different people maybe are writing the song. Maybe different people are singing the song. So they have multiple contributors is what I'm also gathering. And the guitar stuff, I feel like they're touring band. There's actually 3 guitar players. I think I've seen that. If you go to your webpage, there's 10 people in their picture.
Well, yeah, I saw that. There's marketing. 9 or 10 people. Yeah, I was thinking, wow, that's a big bunch of people. Yeah. A
couple background singers. So I just love that because I just think it adds more depth, more influences, more styles.
You mentioned earlier, Jeff, that there's not a whole lot online in terms of, we're used to talking about bands. If it's an Aerosmith or a Led Zeppelin, I mean, there's so much stuff out there about the personalities in the band. These guys aren't like that, right? They're a working band. You can go out and find names of people and when their albums were published, and that's about it. There's not a whole lot there. And just this morning, just so I would, kind of be in the right headspace, I watched most of a live performance from Rock Palace in 2017. In that particular video, there were only 2 guitar players, but like you said, there were extra, there was extra people on the stage, but it was really good. It was really good. And one of the things I appreciated about hearing them live, first of all, live, they sounded just like on the record, which says something about the record too. One of the notes I have about the record is it sounds like a very live record. I mean, there's not a lot of messing around here in terms of studio trickery going on. It's basically, let's mic these guys up and record it. And it's legit. And it sounds just like that live. Both guitar players all get one song, couple songs. The singer, Charlie Starr. Yeah. Charlie Starr is the lead vocalist. And actually looks like he was playing most of the guitars too. He played a Telecaster on a few songs. Every other song, it was a 335. The other guitar players playing a Les Paul 335 or an SG. I love humbucker bands, right? So it was great.
I have a story quickly about the Charlie Starr guitar thing.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I heard him do a quick interview where his first guitar happened to be a Les Paul Jr. with P90, one P90, black. And it was at a guitar store, and it was previously owned by a guitar player from the Georgia Satellites.
Nice.
And he still has this guitar and still plays it. It's still one of his favorites. And I think that's whatever that was, over 20 years ago.
I have in my notes, I just have written over here on the side, it says Georgia Satellites. They're from Atlanta, right? Obviously, Georgia Satellites. It would make sense that there's maybe a little bleed over there in terms of influence. But the band is Charlie Starr, lead vocals, guitar, Richard Turner, bass and vocals, Britt Turner, drums. I'm assuming those guys are brothers. Paul Jackson, guitar and vocals, Brandon Still, keyboards. And then it says in 2020, they added touring personnel, Benji Shanks on guitar. You're right. There's a third guitarist, and Preston Holcomb, percussion. So this performance I watched was from 2017 before they added Benji Shanks, apparently. But like you said, I've seen pictures where you see a whole bunch of guys, but really
and a couple ladies.
So yeah, so I haven't seen any videos with the ladies, but they've added some background singers apparently. So that's cool. Mm-hmm. The band started in 2000. They've opened for ZZ Top, Zach Brown Band, Eric Church, Leonard Skinner. Their albums have done well. I mean, they've charted high on country charts, on rock charts. So I had always heard the name, but until you recommended it, Jeff, I hadn't really gone in and listened, and I'm glad you recommended it because I love it. I mean, and like I said, the more I listen to this album, the better. It's awesome.
Yeah. Looks like Brendan O'Brien produced their album that reached number 1, Holding All the Roses in 2014.
And number 1.
That was and the country charts. And they were touring with Government Mule. So that's
Government Mule is a great band, by the way.
Absolutely.
Warren Haynes is awesome.
I don't remember if there was somebody. Well, obviously there was something between him and Dwayne.
Right.
But he definitely was playing the slide parts.
Yeah.
When he joined.
I remember this is way back in probably late 80s, early 90s, Austin City Limits. You know, Dickie and Warren were both in the band at that time. So,
yeah.
But talk about phenomenal guitar players, just incredible.
And then Warren and Derek Trucks
and Susan.
I don't know if you had seen the Allman Brothers with Warren and Derek.
Oh, it's just ridiculous.
It's kind of unbelievable.
Yeah.
They went out high.
It's great stuff. And if you're a fan of guitar, of great guitar tone, of you got to check out Allman Brothers because it's really good stuff. So let's jump in. It sounds like there's a garbage truck driving by my house right now. Okay. All right. So this is the ambient episode. Let's jump in and talk about these track for track. Like an Arrow came out in 2016. Oh, I want to talk about the album cover. Album cover actually designed by the drummer. And the album's called Like an Arrow, and it has kind of a stylized Native American Thunderbird picture, kind of a cool looking little symbol. The song kicks off with a tune called Waiting for the Thunder. Now, the first note I have, the opening chords, opening measures, first time I heard it, I said, that sounds like the Smithereens, A Girl Like You, just the opening chords, right? And then it quickly kind of changes up. And you mentioned Black Crowes. It's got very much kind of this Black Crowes into Led Zeppelin beat. And let me say this, I love the drum sound on this album. The drums are great. The whole sound of the album, the sounds, the tones of everything are really good on this album. But there's this really cool Led Zeppelin groove kind of in the bridge part before the Leslie, the organ solo comes in. That is just
love that.
Really cool. I mean, it's awesome. Here's another thing that I noted, and it was by design, right? The lead vocal on this track is slightly overmodulated. You know, like he's singing way too loud and he's way up in the red on the VU meter, right?
Yeah, I thought I had the same note.
Yeah, and I like it. It works on this song. And the note I wrote here, for me, everything comes back to Michael Schenker. The Assault Attack album, it's like almost every song is that way. They've like got Graham Bonnet like just on the edge of distorting. It's just a little hairy, but I think it sounds cool. And on this song, I think it sounds really cool. Nitty gritty guitars. The tone is just awesome. I mean, I gave this one personally, I gave it 5 guitar picks. A great lead up.
As did I.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a new audio interface from Universal Audio. Mm-hmm. And part of the deal is they have these emulations of classic hardware.
Oh, cool.
And also tape. So when you're recording, you can choose to actually use this tape emulator, and it's supposed to make your digital recording sound like it's recorded on tape. Cool. And one of my goals is to push it with a guitar or a vocal and see how it responds. So I think in this case, it feels like they were pushing, distorting the tape, because that's what happens. That's what happens with analog tape is you kind of can get a little distorted, but it's in digital world, you couldn't do that. It would get all artifacty and sound like crap. So I love that too, that you pointed that out, because
I remember, I'm thinking back to a radio production class, right? The instructor was a guy named Mark Norman, great guy. And his thing was, watch your VUs. You don't want to overmodulate. You know, that was his big thing. That was his thing. You're overmodulating, right? You want the VU, you want the meter to just tap the red, right? If you're going into the red, that's too much. And so on this recording, they were intentionally getting into the red a little bit to get that little hair on the edge. And it just sounds really good.
Great guitar solo.
Oh, it's phenomenal guitar solo.
I mean, like just a wicked, just choice notes.
Yeah.
You know, love it.
And I'm a big fan of the unison bend, kind of the steel guitar, faking the steel guitar sound on your guitar, you know, and it's throughout on this album. How did you rate this song? Did you give it 5 picks?
5 picks for sure. And one of the lyrics, right?
Oh,
2,000 years of fury in the big black sky. Are we waiting for the thunder, or will the lightning get us all?
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's a good song. Yeah. And just the groove, man, the groove. One of the cool things about watching them live, I hate it when you see a band live and they speed the songs way up. Like Judas Priest is notorious for this, man. You hear them live and they're playing the songs twice as fast. Elvis would do that. His songs are played dude, are you in a hurry? What's the problem? They'd speed up the songs so much it would bug me. These guys, if anything, they might have slowed the songs down a little bit live. Not so much you're going, wow, that's too slow, but enough that you get the groove even more, right? So Waiting for the Thunder, for example, I think they might play it slightly slower on this Rock Palace video that I just watched from 2017. It's awesome. You know, the harmony vocals, the guitar player that sings the really solid. I mean, they sound just tight. And I guarantee you, well, I shouldn't say things like this. I bet there's no auto tune going on with these guys. You know, they're hitting their harmonies the old fashioned way, right?
I would certainly think so. This is one of the ones I think that falls into that harder sound, classic rock, southern rock.
Agreed.
You could group 3 or 4 songs.
Yeah, there's
category, and then there's 3 or 4 songs in another.
Absolutely, that's a good point. Because there's probably 3 what I would call hard rock, hard southern rock, and then there's some I would call this is a country song, right? But yeah, it's great. Okay, then the next song we go into Let It Burn, which has that kind of twangy. It's a country. It's like a country shuffle, but dirtied up, right? Kind of a little more raunched up. It's got a great, honky tonk piano in it. And the words I wrote for the guitar solo sound, I wrote big, fat, honky guitar. It's just got this big, fat, honky guitar tone that is awesome.
Again, great drum sounds.
Great drums, big choruses. These guys know how to write choruses, man. They know how to write good hooks.
Almost every song, I think, has a hook.
I agree. And this one, I didn't dig it as much as Waiting for Thunder, but I liked it. It's a good song. I gave this one four guitar picks on mine.
I gave it 4.5 because, playing these last couple shows in South Dakota, it's nice to have just like a dancer, like a barn burner kind of thing.
That's a good word. This is a barn burner. Totally.
Yeah. And I think something like this followed by something, slow, or vice versa. It's just a good way to get the people on the dance floor.
Yeah. Good point. And barn burner is a perfect word for this. Okay. I have some things I want to say about the next song, The Good Life. Now, let me go on another big tangent. About 10 years ago, there was this feud between Brad Paisley and Richard Marx. Do you remember this, Jeff? Do you remember hearing about that?
No, but
at the big South by, what's the big thing in Austin every year? Is that South by Southwest?
South by Southwest.
Okay, so I think it was at South by Southwest. There was some round table about songwriting, and Brad Paisley said something about country music is about stories, and pop music, you don't hear great stories in pop music like you do in country. And Richard Marx, who's like, to me, the epitome of schlocky pop music, he got his knickers in a twist saying, what do you mean pop music? And so Brad Paisley just kind of apologized and said, oh yeah, well, yeah, Richard Marx, you're great. Yeah, but I mean, everyone else, whatever. But the point is, Brad Paisley was exactly right. Country music is a lot better about telling stories. And even if it's a story that's been told 100 times, like in this song, okay, I could think of 5 country songs that are thematically this same exact song. Tim McGraw, Reba McEntire. I mean, there are tons of songs that are about, I'm assuming he's talking about his father. Maybe it's not his father. It's a father figure. Tons of songs just like this. But you know what?
Sure.
They get me every time. They're still great songs, great stories, and they tug at your heartstrings. And yeah, country music does that better than any other genre. And this is the perfect example of it. There's
more songs about love than certainly about father and son.
Yeah.
So people just keep writing about it.
Exactly. It's a universal experience, right? And I can't think of many pop songs that are able to do that like a country song. And I put my note here is Allman Brothers vibe. You know, it's got the acoustic sound. Melissa, okay, it's kind of that similar type, nice acoustic. This is very much a country song, right? This could be, and maybe it was. I don't listen to country radio, but maybe it could have been a hit on country music radio. The electric guitar, there's a great vibrato going on when the electric guitar comes in, and just the layers in general. There's so many things going on in this song as you hear it. You know, the lyrics, the story is compelling, listening to the lyrics, but there's a lot of layers underneath. Another thing I have is, again, every guitar solo on this album is very tasty. This one has a tasty guitar solo. I love the key changes. There's a few key changes. Oh, and there's some pedal steel on this one too. I think I heard pedal steel on this song too.
I think so.
But I really like this song. It's slow, tugs on your heartstrings a little, but very well done. I gave it 5 guitar picks. I gave this one a 5.
I love the song too. I gave it 4. I wrote the same kind of thing. Nothing too new, but they do it so well. Again, I like quoting lyrics because if you're out there and you never heard the song, you get a little idea of what it is. But any little problem of mine, he'd spit and say, "Boy, you'll be fine." He knew there'd come a time when I'd find real mountains to climb. Like, what a great, yeah. I have boys, I have kids, and I feel like, oh, yeah, that's a nice little tidbit of advice.
Totally. Yeah.
Said in slightly poetic way.
Yeah, no, and it's great. I like it. I like it. And the opening line is, he wasn't the type of man that would walk you to school hand in hand. And then it doesn't say his voice sounded like it was full of sand or something. I don't remember the exact thing, but he's talking about, like, I'm assuming it's his dad. It's at least a father figure, right? Who's kind of got this gruff exterior. It's just a great song. It's a good song.
It teaches you lessons.
For sure.
Now, I don't know who was singing this, but I don't think it was Charlie.
Really? Okay. I didn't even
I don't know.
Think of that. It's great. Who's ever singing it.
I could be wrong, but it certainly sounds more country.
It's more country because it's not got the rock edge that the other songs have, so it's a little more mellow. So if it is Charlie, he's obviously pulled it back a little, which is appropriate for a slow song, right?
True.
Okay, so What Comes Naturally is the next song. And this,
I love this one.
Do you? Okay. Now, I don't dislike it, but I will say this one is my lowest rated song. I'll tell you right out of the gate, I gave it 3.5 picks. I mean, still a good song. It's I have kind of a country blues, traditional honky-tonk type song. And my notes here are kind of a lo-fi sound, very live. And what I mean by that is I'm envisioning them setting up mics on an old stage somewhere and recording the band, and you hear people shouting, and it's just a very live ambience to the whole recording, which I really liked. Great honky-tonk piano again. And my note here is song is very well executed. I'm just not a fan of this style of song. So that was my only knock on it, is they played it wonderfully. This is not the type of song that I usually gravitate to. So I'm interested to hear what you thought of this song.
I love this kind of thing for sure. Part of it is moving to Colorado and getting into bluegrass and getting into acoustics and then sitting around and finger picking. And I really enjoy when, folks who get a distorted guitar, maybe like a semi-hollow 335, and turn down a little bit and then finger pick that.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I like that, and that's what this kind of reminded me of.
I did really like the slide. There's a slide guitar solo.
Yes.
It's really good on this song. I really dug that.
Yeah, I have that in here as well. And it's also sort of sexual innuendo, right?
Well, and
you're my little queen bee. Come and rub your honey all over me.
Yeah, see, and I did.
Do what's naturally.
That went clear over my head. I didn't even catch that. So, but yeah, well, pretty much
4 picks.
Pretty much every blues song is that way. But yeah,
that's
okay.
True.
So you gave it 4. I gave it 3.5. We're not too far off on that, really. Okay, so Running Through Time, again, Allman Brothery to me. It's a mid-tempo, great Leslie sound on the organ. And again, I hear the vibrato on the guitar. I wrote down and the lyrics are very simple, but that whole chorus, there is a line running through time. Can't remember what the next line is, but again, very catchy chorus, great harmonies, and a great solo. This is, I think, one of the secrets of, and you might be able to explain this better than me. One of the secrets of Dickie Betts was, and a lot of the Southern rock guys, instead of just doing your regular, major pentatonic. So rock songs will often use what's called a minor pentatonic, or the blues scale, right? Well, if you slide that back 3 frets, it becomes a major pentatonic. And some people would call it the Southern rock scale, right? So it's more of a major sounding pentatonic scale that you'd hear against a lot of Southern rock or country songs, right? Mm-hmm. So the trick of Dickie Betts was, instead of just playing a major pentatonic, he'd play like the Mixolydian scale, or at least add the 6th tone, which would give it just a slightly jazzier feel than just the major pentatonic. And I hear some of that in this solo. So this, to me, sounds like there's a little more the Mixolydian, not just the major pentatonic, which is so common in a lot of Southern rock and country stuff, which is and that's one of the jazzy elements that you'd hear from Dickie Betts, right? And the Allman Brothers. So I heard that in this song. Yeah,
he was great at adding those colors to the major pentatonic. So he might even bounce off the flat 3, or he might bounce off the flat 5, and he'll chromatically. He did a bunch of
chromatics, and
that keeping it in this major kind of scale.
Yeah, and for those that aren't players, chromatic means you're just hitting all the in between notes, right? You're not just limiting yourself to the right notes of the scale, but you're able to do it in a passing tones, right? Passing notes that aren't really part of the scale, and there's an art to that. There's an art to that, because sometimes it sounds like
you can go a little overboard.
Exactly right. But Dickie Betts was a master at that. And this solo sound is just very much in that vein. I gave it 4.5.
I think I gave it 4.
Okay.
I thought all the things you said, but also I thought was interesting. It's got this, even though it's a mellow kind of a acoustic thing, there's a little bit of a moving, driving vibe. Now I was like, what's going on? What am I? And I think the acoustic, it's got like this, it's kind of what's a triplet thing, perhaps?
Yeah.
I'll have to listen to it again, but I feel like it's got this triplet strum that keeps the song almost galloping or moving. And then I think, wow, the song's about running through time.
Ooh,
writing a line, running through. And so I don't know if they actually meant that to happen, but I think it's kind of an ironic.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good edge too.
And the words, when they say line, it's like, they stretch it out.
There is a line. Yeah.
Line.
Exactly.
And it's like, it's this long.
And there's the line. It's a long line.
How cool is that?
Yeah, good. No, that's clever.
That they are songwriters, like you said. Like here again, they know how to write a song.
I like that one. And what did you give that one again? 4?
I gave that 4.
4 stars. Okay. Like an Arrow. You like an Arrow, don't you? Yeah.
I gave it 5+.
Really? Okay. So this is interesting because I gave it 4.5. I like it, but I liked Waiting for the Thunder better. But this is a great song.
Do you remember why?
I don't know why. I just as I listened, I have to differentiate. If I had to line the two up, I'd have to give a slight edge to Waiting on the Thunder. But this is a great song. I'm trying to look at my notes here. I can't read my own writing. Oh, I said very, very raunchy, lo-fi guitars in the intro, great pre-chorus and chorus. We all live and die. Time will always roll on by, and then this Like an Arrow. It's a whole, I said rock and bridge before a cool wah-wah solo.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the solo, after the guitar solo, the vocals come back in and there's an effect on the vocal that wasn't there before. It's just kind of a filtered effect that I thought that sounds pretty cool. And it's only there for a while, but it sounds really cool. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have a whole lot of notes about it other than I gave it a 4.5. So I thought it was a great tune. That's the album, that's the song they chose as the album title, but it's a great one. So why do you like it so much?
I like it because of the contrast, of course. Mm-hmm. I like that they could do these slow ballads. And then, this is like, the Thunder song. It fits into that heavier category.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also like it because I feel like, is it tuned down? I feel like at first I thought it was tuned to drop D. Mm-hmm. Then I thought it was C sharp.
Wow.
But whatever it is, it's low and it's heavy.
It is low.
I thought somehow they're getting away with creating this. I feel like maybe it's the bridge. It sounds like Soundgarden to me.
Interesting.
And I feel like, wow, how is this album and this songwriters and these sort of blend with these country kind of acoustic-y songs. And then they write this tune that's bringing me into Soundgarden.
Interesting.
Like, how awesome. So I just think it's so sort of like ambitious, brave, great chorus, like you said. It's dry. It's just, I love it. It gets me just going,
Yeah, it's a good song. Yeah. And I love what you said about the Soundgarden element, because actually when we get to the next song, I had the same note, not about Soundgarden, but it makes me want to say this, and that is the vocal style is very much in the Southern rock country tradition, right? It's got the twang, it's got the drawl, but that can be misleading, right? Because to your point, like an Arrow, imagine that if it wasn't sung in that style. If you had a different singer, I think that song would have a totally different feel, really.
Yeah.
And you gave this 5 stars, right? Like an Arrow, you gave 5 plus. If you were allowed to, you'd give it more. Okay.
Yeah.
So ought to know, and I'll tell you right out of the bat, I gave it 5 stars. I love this song. And to me, this is a perfect example. If you could and I'm not saying I don't like the vocals. I'm just saying that's how powerful the vocal is on the overall vibe of the song. If you don't laugh when I say this song ought to know, you listen to the guitars, you listen to the kind of jangly, the descending chord, things that are movement on this song. This song could have been on Cheap Trick's In Color from 1977, other than the vocal, right? I could totally see the lyrics. If you put Robin Zander on lead vocals on this song, this would be a Cheap Trick song. It's a pop song, right? It's
one of my first notes is it has an 80s pop rock thing going on.
It totally does. It totally does.
It's amazing. Again, they're fitting in.
Yeah.
Now they're fitting in this other element.
Exactly.
But it's so incredible to me.
They're distilling all kinds of different influences. We've mentioned the Black Crowes. We've mentioned the Allman Brothers. I just mentioned Cheap Trick, right? There's all kinds of things bubbling underneath here. But the arpeggiated guitar part is, I said, it's very Rick Nielsen-like from the late 70s, early 80s, Cheap Trick type stuff. The chorus, the pre-chorus, the bridge, those could totally have come straight off a Cheap Trick album. By extension, right? Those could totally have been a Beatles, off of a Beatles album. That bridge in this song is very Beatlesque, which Cheap Trick, ripped off to use in their sound, which ELO ripped off. I mean, it's a very, like you said, very pop rocky sound, but it works, man. And it sounds really good. I love it. This has a great major. I mentioned the kind of the Mixolydian type solo. To me, this sounds just like a straight major pentatonic, catchy solo in this song. It's awesome. This one might be, I've given 3 songs 5 stars or 5 picks. So if I was forced to pick an absolute favorite, this one might be it. I really love this song. I really liked it. Yeah.
It's funny. Like, we have the same notes. This is really funny.
Right. That's funny.
I gave it 4 picks. Okay. I mentioned the 80s pop rock thing for sure. But my notes are, the verses are coming, the verse is going, and then the second guitar comes in or another guitar comes in with the arpeggio, giving movement. Right. I had that, which I thought was cool.
And this is the difference between you and I, right? So we hear the same thing, but we have our own personal preferences. Like, I think I lean more towards the poppy stuff. That's why I gave it more picks. You hear the same thing. You just say, that's not quite as big a deal to me as it is to Jeremy, right? Same thing back on the What Comes Naturally. Same type of thing, right? We both kind of hear the same things. It's just our own personal preferences.
And I have chorus hooky.
Very hooky.
I have cool guitar country bend. I think it's the second bent up to the major third.
Yeah, awesome.
Which is, you talked about that.
I love
that. Then there's a harmony guitar lead I thought was really cool.
I love this song.
Yep.
So I gave it 5. You gave it 4. Next one is Sunrise in Texas. My note here says country. Country.
I love these lyrics. I love them.
Oh, yeah. I wrote some of it down. There's a world going on outside the world that I'm in. Got sunrise in Texas again. Yeah. There's a world going on outside the world that I'm in. I just love that. It's
cool. Great.
I have a note here. I'm assuming it's like a Fender Rhodes electric piano. A lot of that in this song. This sounds weird. I didn't know what else to say it. This song, it builds, right? So it starts at the very beginning. The vocal is very, and this will sound like a weird word. I don't mean it sound weird, but the only word I can think of is it sounds intimate, right? It sounds like he's very close to the mic and it's very, very close. And then it kind of changes.
I don't think that's weird. I think that's the style. I think
builds.
That's the thing.
Yeah. It just changes as it builds throughout the song. And towards the end, it just builds progressively more and more. It has a great wah-wah guitar solo in it. It's just a really good song. I gave this one 4.5 picks. What'd you give it?
I gave it 5 picks.
Woo! Okay. All right.
I think because of that very thing. It's intimate. It starts off slow. It builds.
Right.
And then who would think that crazy wah blasting solo would be the one or the thing you would put into this song stylistically, followed by an awesome slide. If you listen to it, they really seamlessly transition to that wow solo, and then the slide comes right in on the change.
Yeah,
there's a chord change right there, and it just works so well.
I just realized I have another 5-star. I have 4 5-pick songs on here. I think I was friendlier to this album than you were, Jeff. I think I gave it more 5s than you did. I could be wrong. We'll see. Okay, but none of them are the same. I don't think any. No. We both gave the first song 5 stars, didn't we?
Okay.
Or did you give it 4.5? I can't remember.
I think I gave it 5.
Okay, so next one, Ain't Gonna Wait. I gave this 5 stars.
Did you?
I did. And I wrote country. It's got mandolin and violin in it. That's country, but it's very hooky. It's got great piano. It's got this group vocal in it, more so on this song than the others. Most of the other song, it's like 2-part harmonies, maybe some 3-part somewhere. This has like a group harmony where it's a bunch of, I said almost like a choir. You got a big vocal things going on a few times. I said, very tasty, understated solo a la Dickie Betts. I'd have to go back and listen again, but that's what I thought at the time when I heard it. I don't have a whole lot of notes, but I liked it enough to give it 5 picks. So I really dug it. So what did you think?
I don't have a lot of notes either, except, again, I have my first note is I like the mandolin contrast here. Yeah. Good mellow slow tune. To me, it's a little country poppy, so I gave it 3.5 stars.
3.5
doesn't mean I don't think it's like a good song.
Right. It's like
the whole album is amazing.
It's just like I said about What Comes Naturally. They executed it well. That's just not my personal cup of tea as far as the style. Okay. And this is our styles contrasting, which is great. Oh, another thing in general, there's 12 songs on this album. Right. 12 songs. Yeah. Okay. It's getting slightly better now that so much music is streaming now, but there for a while, albums were 8 songs. You know, you'd get 4 songs on each side. But one of the trends I see that I like is you're getting more songs on albums now, which is great. Anyways, 12 songs on this one. So the next song, Working for a Working Man. Great riff, great groove. It's got a great B3 organ in it. Again, there's violin on this song too. Violin and piano that I heard. Great dual guitar riffage mid-song into great solo. And then I said, love the key changes. So again, this is one that has some key changes in the solo. I love guitar solos that have key changes in them. Billy Gibbons does that a lot. I just love that. I love the sound that when you hear a key change, and I just love that. And they do that a lot. So this is a great one. And I bet you scored this higher than I did. Let me hear what you have to say about it, though.
You want to hear my quick notes? Because I think it's
let me
hilarious.
hear your notes. Yeah.
Good old rock and roll song. Great B3 and energy.
Yeah.
Love the breakdown. Love the breakdown with just the guitar. Then the bass matches the riff. Cool guitar solo.
Yeah. And that break.
You said.
Well, that break, that's exactly what I was talking about, where it breaks down with just the one guitar before it goes into. Yeah. It's just really cool. So how many picks did you give it?
I gave it 4.
I gave it 4. Okay, good. I think that's one we agreed on. Yeah.
This one though, let's the chorus real quick. The bait and switch, it's a son of a bitch. It ain't working for a working man. Yeah. I got to shuck and jive just to even survive. It ain't working for a working man.
So last night, keep in mind, my family's a pretty sedate, conservative family. So I'm listening to this. I'm just sitting the boys are in bed, but I'm just listening on the phone, writing my notes, And they keep playing the chorus. The bait and switch is a son of a bitch. And my wife is like, she hears that about 4 times. She's like, what are you listening to? It was funny. It's a great song. It really is a good song. And now that I'm thinking of it, I maybe should have given it 4.5, but I wrote down 4. So I'll stick with that.
You could revise.
I can. It's a good song. Okay. Now I bet you mentioned the same artist in your notes about the next song that I did. Maybe not. We'll see. Believe You Me. Did you mention another artist in your notes?
I love that. It's a funk thing.
It's a funk thing. Did you mention?
Did I mention another artist? I didn't.
It's okay. I wrote.
Did you read the Funky Meters? Maybe.
I wrote great funky organ, great funky guitar, but I wrote in parentheses it says Stevie Wonder, Superstition. It's got that funky organ thing that Stevie Wonder would do.
Clavinet.
Yeah, clavinet. Yeah, clavinet. It's awesome. Love the guitar solo. There's I don't know that it's a wah. It might be like an envelope filter or something. There's something going on there. And then I hear an octave pedal in there, not for a long time, but somewhere towards the end of that solo, there's an octave pedal that sounds really cool. But it's just very funky. Again, one of the things I liked about this is the contrast, right? This was very different from there's a lot of contrast from song to song. These guys mix it up a lot, but this one more than any other song was probably like, wow, that's really different. I gave it 4.5 stars.
I did too.
Sweet. Okay.
And it's another hook, catchy chorus. What goes around comes around. Believe you me. It's not magic, but you know what? I'm not writing it.
No,
I'm not writing songs like that.
And then last song, and this one, and I'm sure they made this the last song for a reason, because this features a guest. And to be honest, I had to go back and listen again because I couldn't tell where the guest was jumping in, right? Was
really
on the song. Not the first time. Then when I went back through again, I said, oh, okay. So Greg Allman, this is a duet between Charlie and Greg Allman, and Greg Allman is one of their mentors, right? So this is a big influence, and I'm sure that's why they put it last. We want to put this song with Greg Allman on last. And of course, Greg Allman died in 2017. So I didn't go back and look. This is 2016. I'm assuming this is maybe one of the last recorded performances we have of Greg Allman. I don't know that for sure. I'm assuming.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Man, maybe.
But, so that in and of itself is pretty cool. Again, what I'm calling a Fender Rhodes piano, kind of an electric piano, not quite an organ, but some electric piano. Great slide playing. This one I heard. There's piano, great piano, and there's some. If I'm remembering correctly, there's some interplay of the guitars where both guitars are kind of doing. It's not one's playing straight rhythm and one's playing lead. They're mixing it up, right? They're both kind of playing little flourishes throughout, which is really cool.
Well, it's got this crazy, really pronounced up front in the mix slide. Kind of it's almost like the melody.
Yes.
Sort
and
of.
Then,
wow, wow, wow.
That's it.
Wow, wow, wow. It's really right up front in the mix.
Underneath, I think kind of floating in and out and around, you hear other little guitar things happening. That's just one of the things I have. I'm not hearing it in my mind, but one of the notes I had, this has a super long fade out. I mean, the fade out's like a minute long or a minute and a half long. I mean, it just fades out really slow, but I like that. It's cool. Again, Greg Allman is on this, and I'm sure that's why they put it at the end. You know, that was kind of their out of respect for Greg Allman, they put this song on last. Free on the Wing is the name of the song. I gave it 4 stars. I mean, I think it's a great song. It's not one of my favorites, but it's a good song. Very good song.
It has a little bit of, I gave it 4.5. Mostly because I feel like it's paying tribute to him. It's all Free on the Wing. It's fading out because I imagine they think his soul is kind of like still around, but it's just kind of lying around out there, so inspiring them perhaps,
Long fade out.
So I thought that was kind of a sweet thing.
Yeah, it was good.
And it's catchy.
It is catchy.
They make these sort of sappy pull on your heartstrings songs catchy.
You know, there's a reason a sappy pull on your heartstrings are sappy pull on your heartstrings, because they work, right? But yeah, these guys do it well. And my closing thoughts are, this is just really good stuff. If you're not a country fan, don't let that scare you, because there's enough riffage and hard rock bombast. If that's your thing, you will dig this, right? If you are a country fan, there's a lot to love here. So it's really good. And like I said earlier, it's doing them a disservice to just call them a Southern rock band in my mind, because I think they bring in, like the Allman Brothers, they just bring in lots of different elements. It's funny, Jeff, I didn't watch any videos until this morning. All I was doing was listening to this album for the last month. And then just this morning, I spent about an hour watching videos. And it's funny how you picture in your mind what someone will look like. I had never seen what Charlie Starr looked like. I was picturing some guy that looked like Donnie Van Zant or something, right? He didn't look like what I expected. You know, he's got the big, long sideburns, skinny guy, long hair, and a lot of facial hair across the board in this band. Yeah, a lot of facial hair, beards, long hair. These guys would go over well in like the biker rally in August in South Dakota. They'd fit right in. They'd be perfect.
Yeah. I think, they're almost more like hippie.
Yeah,
Southern rock.
Hippie Southern rock. That's how
I would classify it.
Yeah, but I like it. It's really good. If you're a fan of good organic, there's no over processed squeezy guitar sounds. These are tube amps cranked up, playing mostly Gibson guitars. What's not to like about it?
My final remark is, if you want to listen to not just one or two, but a whole band of craftsmen doing it well across the board, from writing, lyrics, musicianship, producing. They've been doing it for about 20 years, and check them out. I'm going to see him at Red Rocks in a few months. You should come out.
Well, I was going to say, my company has a site there. I need to parlay. I really need to be at our Fort Collins site this week.
Yes. Yeah. Let me tell you when. Hold on. And we'll tell the viewers in case they don't know.
That's right.
Have you ever been to Red Rocks?
I have been there when it was empty. Which is not the time you want to go. I mean, it's beautiful when it's empty, but it would be even better if there was a band there.
October 28th.
Okay, October 28th. All right.
Quite a ways away.
I'm going to see if I can come up with a reason to be in Fort Collins that week. And then, so I'm serious.
You've got plenty of time.
And I could be there.
If you want to come sooner, I'm going to the Black Crowes, August 30th.
August 30th. Okay. Those are some dates. I'll see what I can do. That's awesome. Jeff, thanks so much for recommending this album, because I really enjoyed it. And I'm sure as I've watched the live stuff, I was watching them do songs from other albums, and I dug them just as much. So I got to go back and listen to the albums before and after. It's good stuff. And if you're a fan of great rock, you'll like it. Okay. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Again, shoot us an email, classicguitarrock@mail.com. We hopefully will have some announcements on our next show in terms of some cool things coming down the road that we can do with some sponsors in terms of giving some cool stuff away and doing some fun things. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook. Share the podcast with your friends, and we will see you next time on the Classic Guitar Rock Podcast.
Rock on.
Thanks for listening to the Classic Guitar Rock Podcast.
Oh, sweetney!
Please like, subscribe, and share. You can email us at classicguitarrock@mail.com.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
We'll see you for the next episode of the Classic Guitar Rock Podcast.